Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, television show, and podcast. Excuse my voice, I'm a little under the weather today, but I'm hoping that I could bring the great energy to you and that I will do this interview justice. Because sitting in the guest chair today is Marcus Bell, aka the Bell Ringer. And Marcus is a top music producer, composer, inspirational leader, and he wants to talk to us today about his project, 100 Days Impact Challenge. So, welcome, Marcus.
So good to be here. Great to see you. And I'm
All
sending
right.
I'm sending you good energy right now that your voice and everything
We'll
holds
see. That's
and your
right, right.
cold disappears.
It disappears and I don't cough. Right, right, exactly. Well, thank you. I receive it. All right. So, let me give you some more information about Marcus. Marcus Bell is one of the top music producers, composers in the industry. He has worked with some of the biggest artists such as Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry, Snoop Dogg, and many more. He also produced and composed for some of the most famous films and TV shows. Apart from that, Bell is a successful entrepreneur who wants to help people achieve their goals in life, which is basically what we're going to be talking about today, which is why he created a project called 100 Days Challenge. It is a wealth and impact boot camp to guide people to the way to success. This challenge helps people achieve their goals in life. And as a life coach, I am totally down with that. Bell has also produced soundtracks for several television shows and films. Some of the new and upcoming releases that feature his work are the TV series P Value on the Stars Network with singles Boy Listen and Own It, and the Netflix series Ginny and Georgia with the song Give Us Love. Marcus Bell also published a number one best selling book on Amazon titled Bell Ringer Branding Bible: The Five Musician Branding Principles for Singers, Rappers, DJs, Music Producers, Composers, Writers, and Recording Artists. All right, Marcus. So we're going to straddle the fence today. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about life coaching challenge. So, but before we get into our, the details of our conversation today, tell us your journey from being a music producer to a coach, wanting to help people achieve success in their life.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is to start with that I stand for dignity and compassion for myself and all humanity.
Okay.
And everything that I've done, everything that I do is organized around uplifting humanity. And so when it comes to the music industry, now the thing that I love about the music industry, which I've been a part of since I was 2 years old. So I like to say I was born into the entertainment industry
All
because I
right, all
started playing
right.
piano when I was 2. I
Really?
was a
That's
child.
beautiful.
Yeah, I was a
Wow.
child prodigy. I
Wow.
started my first company when I was 12 years old, a record label.
Wow.
And so I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, basically, and a musician and songwriter, a recording artist. And so what I discovered in my journey was that the things that I was doing when I was younger, like, recording myself and playing all the instruments and coming up with the lyrics of the songs and all of those pieces of a puzzle, that the actual role of someone that is able to do all of those things and mix the song and bring it to completion and deliver the emotions of the song, that role was the role of a music producer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I discovered that I was a music producer, before I was a teenager. And and so and the way I learned that was my mother, um, you know, who was just amazing at bringing forth mentors in my life when I was younger, had found in that area in Virginia, I was born in Norfolk, Virginia. In that area, there was a music producer who had produced Marvin Gaye.
Nice.
And
okay.
So I had my first contact with someone that was hugely successful in the music industry was this guy. His name's Gordon.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I was taken to his house, and I'm sitting there, and we're in his studio in his house, and he's playing my music.
Wow.
And he stopped the music, and he looked at me. He said, "Kid, don't you listen to the radio?"
Okay.
And what he was talking about was I was playing around in a lot of different genres. So I had a song that was hip hop, I had a song that was jazz, I had a song that was gospel, I had a song that was reggae, and so
Wow.
a funk song. And so I was all over the place in terms of the type of music that I was producing. And so I discovered in that session that, oh, this is what a music producer does. A music producer looks at the artist, me, I was like the artist in this case, and can see what is needed in order to pull the greatness out and focus that greatness in a direction.
That is true.
And so the way this connects them in my life, I support a lot of celebrities and people that are in various walks of life, and community organizers and leaders, people that have big missions for the world, that want to uplift themselves and others. And so my role as a music producer in music has been that ever since I started producing other artists.
People, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because my job as a music producer is to see their greatness and help them discover that greatness for themselves. And in my case, capture it on a recording so that the world can see that greatness. And the same thing happens in programs that I have now, like Wealth and Impact Bootcamp, which is a program that is designed around that, helping people access their greatness, articulate that value in the marketplace so that they can monetize it and help a massive amount of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is great. So why did the music producer at the time ask you about listening to the radio? How does the radio help you, an artist?
So that's a fantastic question, because there are processes to discovering your voice. And so as far as I can tell, there are three.
Okay.
3 stages. So there's the imitation stage, then there's the emulation stage, and then there's innovation. So imitation is like when I learned to play the saxophone, right? So I would take out the saxophone, put on Charlie Parker and John Coltrane and imitate what they did, like try to figure out the notes, get the sheet music. Okay, this is what they were playing here, try to sound like them, right? And so I'm basically attempting to be Charlie Parker on the saxophone, right? That's imitation. So then there's emulation. Now I'll use a different example. So when I was in Boston doing something like 10 songs a day or whatever, people would come in to the recording studio then and say, Marcus, can you do something that sounds like Timbaland? Can you do something that sounds like Babyface? Can you do something that sounds like David Fox? Can you do something that sounds like Dr. Dre, whoever, right?
Okay.
And so,
right?
It wouldn't be the imitation, right? So I'm not playing exactly what Dr. Dre did, right? But I would do something that Dr. Dre would have done, right?
The sound? kind of the similar
it's a
sound?
sound, it's a
Right, right.
feel, it's an energy, it's a vibe. So I'm
Okay,
listening from a lot of different lenses, like
okay.
the kinds of sounds that are selected, the type of setting that is placed, the way the notes are arranged. Is it more minor? Is it more major? Like all these different factors. There are many different ways to examine something to get to an emulation place where you're kind of like. And so I would be able to be
Mhm.
kind of like other music producers. And
Okay.
so they would ask me, hey, and I didn't know at the time that this was a valuable skill that I was developing. Right. And
Yeah.
so that and the way that skill is, and I am going to get to innovation. The way
Right.
that skill ended up landing was different television shows and movies now even reach
Mhm.
out to me and say, hey, Marcus, we couldn't clear the Beyonce song, or we couldn't clear XYZ song, like this Lady Gaga song. Do you
Mhm.
have anything that sounds
It's
like it?
like it. I love it. I love it.
Right?
So it makes me think about when people file copyright because it sounds like it. Is that legal?
Yes, it's legal. Everything
Right.
comes from somewhere. I mean, if
Okay.
you think about
Mhm.
music, we only have 12 notes,
Right. Okay.
right?
Right.
We only have 12 notes. Think
All
about
right.
that. Think about the millions, the billions of songs over humanity's lifespan. Okay, in Western music, it's 12 notes, right? You start getting
Mhm.
into other things. There's like microtones and micro. So I'm just going to say that there's
Right.
12 notes on the piano.
So I was just about to say
Right?
from the piano. Right. Yes.
Right?
Hmm.
Right? And so we
Everything
only
comes from
have that
somewhere.
to
I like
work with.
that. Right. Okay.
So now let me connect the dots between the 12 notes and innovation,
Okay.
right? So now, all right, so do you think that everything has been played on those 12 notes?
Yeah.
Probably, right? Right.
Right. Hmm.
So that's why in the copyright law, you can't copyright chords, you can't copyright drum beats, right? Because like you think about dance music, oots, oots, oots. I mean, you can't copyright that. If I
Right.
wish, I wish that were different, right? Someone
Right.
comes up with something that's innovative, and they're like,
Right.
okay, here's the dance beat. Now everyone that uses that dance beat has to pay me.
Has
I
to
mean,
pay you. Right.
that would be brilliant.
Right. 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 Which is
But
probably
then
why
that
they lose. Right. Because they're claiming copyright because it sounds like it, but it's not really it. Right. Okay.
right, exactly. And so which leads
Mm-hmm.
us to innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So 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 now, how are you going to take the 12 notes that everyone has to work with and create something that sounds innovative,
Wow.
right? And so, or
Wow.
how are you going to create something that makes it unique, makes your voice unique, that makes the music unique, that makes the messaging unique, that makes the sound unique, right? So now we get into, okay, well, who are you as an individual and what is your voice? What is your voice? Not you trying to sound like Beyonce, not you trying to be like Jay-Z, not you trying to emulate, but who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Not you trying to be the public speaker like Barack Obama. Who are
Who
you
are
as a
you?
speaker? Not you trying to
Yes.
be James
Yes.
Patterson, right? As a writer, like who are you as a writer? Right? Not
Yeah.
you trying
You
to
make
be.
me remember watching the movie Ray Charles when the mother, Ray Charles was trying to emulate somebody, and his mother said, well, that person's already taken. You got to be you. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And is there are plenty of Elvis impersonators. I was just on this uh at this place where they do skydives. And
Uh-huh.
I met this guy who's been skydiving for over 30 years. Okay, he's
Mm-hmm.
he's done like 25,000 skydives jumping out of the planes, right? But one of his things that he does, he's part of this group called the Flying Elvises or
Mm-hmm.
Elvi or something like that. So they jump out of the plane in
I've
Elvis.
actually seen that in a movie. I've seen them, the Flying Elvises. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So
Right.
he's one of those in that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so there are plenty of Elvis impersonators,
Right.
right? But the guy that I met was definitely not Elvis. He had something very unique, right? Not everyone has jumped out of the plane, you know, have done 25,000 jumps out of planes.
Right.
Right. And he was one of the trainers there and so forth. And so what is it that makes you unique? This is for your audience, for anyone listening. This is one of the things that gets uncovered in my programs, right? So I have all of these different tools and methods to access who you are as greatness for the world and who you are as value. And so part of the context of that is so innovation in this case is actually getting to your authentic self. And there's a bunch of different lenses that we can talk about that. So one lens is, think about those conversations that you may have about time or money, right? For example. So there's a narrative that gets emulated inside of society, particularly Western society. And that is, time is money. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You're trying, right? Are you challenging that concept?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. Because time is much greater than money, I would assert. And not only is time much greater than money, but what kind of time are we talking about? Are we talking about space-time? Are we talking about time as numbers? Are we talking about time as activity? Right.
Activity.
So I've studied a lot about time. And so time, yes, can be used in the context of money to multiply your money, right? So the concepts like, you know, compound interest and so forth to multiply money,
passive income and things like that. But I think when I use that is when someone is wasting my time, is you're talking about the 24-hour day, where if you are a producer, you're a coach, you're somebody that's working with you, that time is money, because when you waste it, you're wasting time. But you can transform that thinking and have passive income, compound interest, and all the other things, where your time is not connected to money. I mean, money is not connected to your time. That's what it is.
Listen, so in anyone that has, okay, well, let me back up for a second and qualify what I'm about to say.
All righty.
Okay, so the reason why the time is money narrative exists is it comes from the industrial age, okay, where companies had to find some way to quantify how to pay workers and so forth. And so that's why there's a time clock, right? This is why those things exist.
And you get paid hourly, right?
And you get paid hourly. Now, so what's happened is that has seeped into society in a way that now you're in a time is money prison.
Right.
Because you have been emulating that narrative in your life. And so therefore, because you have that narrative, you think about your time and your value in relationship to how much you make an hour. Right. Now, and that right there is a trap. Because if you are getting paid, now this is coming from someone, I've been paid by the hour before and all of that, when I didn't have this distinction, when I was in emulation mode. Okay. But I'm curious and I study a lot of different things, and I talk to, billionaires and millionaires. And I mean, if let's take it to innovation, right? Which in this context, I'm gonna call it free thinking. Okay. Free thinking, meaning that you're free of the thinking that has had you trapped. Right.
You're breaking those boxes. You're thinking outside the box. Okay.
Yeah. So let's call them distinctions. Like time is a distinction and money is a distinction. A lot of times people have those two distinctions collapse. And so they think everything about like, oh, well, my time is worth blah, 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 blah. Right. Now, if I were to say, if I were to talk about how I produce revenue, in that time is money box, it just will sound ridiculous to you, right? Right. If I'm on, an hour presentation and I say, well, let me just take it off of me for a second. So I have a friend of mine who I'm actually doing a course with. I'm collaborating with him on a LinkedIn Wealth and Impact Bootcamp course. So he gets paid up to $75,000 for 45 minutes.
Nice.
To talk.
Nice.
Okay.
Wow.
$75,000. Now, is that a time is money box? So if someone says, Myrna, how much do you charge? Well, I'm $75,000 an hour. Right?
Yes. Well, there's some speakers that charge that. That's basically what he's doing. There's some speakers. Now, like, I think Barack Obama charges like $200,000 for his hour. But anyway, yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But when you're coaching someone, are you bringing $200,000 worth of value into their lives?
Maybe.
Okay. So when I coach someone, I've had people say, oh my God, that changed everything for me. Right.
Yes.
That actually, I took and did what you said, and now I'm a multimillionaire.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Out of my hour.
Right. Yes.
Right. So how do I place a value on that, in a time is money box?
Kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's going to cost you $1 million because you got $1 million worth of value. Right. No. So this is the constraint. Right. And so part of being an innovator in music is looking at what are the elements that make something unique that's different than what other people are doing, right? Or is an enhancement on what other people are doing. So as it relates to like coaching, as it relates to how you value yourself in a marketplace and so forth, time is money is one of those things that as you can, I hope has come through in my expanding on it.
Right.
Actually,
well, and musicians, time is really not money, because as you were talking, I remembered probably the biggest example of that is Mariah Carey has a song, something to do with Christmas. I don't remember the name of it. But last Christmas, they were saying that song took her 30 minutes to sing, and it's made, 60 million over the years.
Here we go.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Great example. Great example.
Right.
That is a great example.
So musicians have that. But yes, go ahead.
And I would assert that musicians are the only ones that have that. I would assert that every individual, once they have connected to the intrinsic value that they have to offer the world, and they're able to hone in on what that value is, what that offering is, what pain are they solving for people, that articulation of value can be like Mariah Carey's 30 minutes making $60 million last year.
That's good. So, all right. So that was a good intro. Now I'm curious. So tell us about your 100-day challenge, and how does it connect to finding the authentic self in people?
Yeah. So I'm going to give a little bit of background on where it came from.
Okay. All right.
And so I have this program that I mentioned, Wealth and Impact Bootcamp. And that's a community of people that are really, leveraging the opportunity of some of the trainings that I have and the community to get their messages out in the world. There are people that have come in that have transitioned from one occupation to another occupation, that are in transition stages of life, and they're looking to elevate what they're doing. And so it's really designed around taking people from success to significance. And so that community last year around election time, because I do webinars every month for that community. And so I was talking about elections, and I had challenged them to elect themselves. Right? Elect yourself. Now, what does electing yourself?
And what's your message? Yes. Okay.
Well,
got you.
Well, there's whole things around message and their coursework, right? So, but what I'm talking about in terms of electing themselves, like there's a world around someone electing themselves, right? And one of those aspects, once someone comes into office, right? So like when Biden started in the office, they call it the first 100 days. Now this originates from Roosevelt when the country was moving out of the Great Depression.
Right.
Roosevelt brought forth the first 100 days, and this is where we get that from in popular culture and in particularly in politics. And so when Biden gets in the got into office, his first 100 days. So the idea is in your first 100 days, you're trying to do as much as you can to set the tone of your whole presidency.
Right? The whole 4 years. What did you do in 100 days? Interesting. Yep.
Right. Yep. And so that's why, they try and get bills passed or reverse things or like all of that activity in that first 100 days traditionally has been the most impactful for the 8 years or the 4 years,
4 years,
however long someone has. And so I challenged them in Wealth and Impact Bootcamp to take on 100 days for their most important aims. And I created a structure around how that is, because most times when people take on challenges or they have like New Year's resolutions, by day 15, they stop going to the gym. They're eating cakes again. Right?
Yeah.
Right? They stop meditating. They stop praying or whatever it is.
Right. Yes.
They're arguing with their husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or other or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
They can't sustain it. Yep.
Most people can't sustain it. And so I created a structure for sustainability.
Okay.
Right? Which is what makes the 100 Days with a Z Impact Challenge unique, is that it is designed with neuroscience, with social psychology, with psychology in mind, so that you can create sustainable change or elevation or adding something new, or there was something that you wanted to do that you didn't necessarily have the courage to do, or you didn't have the time to do, you didn't have the resources to do, whatever. And you take that thing and you put it inside of the 100 Days Challenge structure program, and then you get at it using that structure. And so what ended up happening, some of the participants, the early participants before we went public with it, was ridiculous. So ridiculous in a good way. So one woman, for example, she came onto a check-in webinar and she said, this has improved my health unlike anything else I've ever done. I deal with Lyme disease and my health has already gotten better, and I'm not even through my 100 days. Another person came on and said, you know what? I took on raising money and I never raised money before. And I've raised thousands of dollars for this organization in Haiti, and I'm flying out to Haiti next week.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And there's kids and engineers waiting for me, and we're doing this project out there.
Wow.
This musician came on and said, you know what? When COVID happened, I stopped performing and all that and just kind of got into a blue state, And so I took on doing every single day, going live on Facebook playing.
Oh, wow.
And that's changed my life and has taken me out of depression and has contributed to other people and all of that. And so when I realized, wow, I wasn't expecting those results, right? I wasn't expecting, okay.
Yeah, you're saying, okay, this thing works. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was like,
that was your test sample.
I knew the design would work, but I didn't know what people were going to do with it.
Okay.
And so when people took on the things that they did, and I saw, wow, this could work for anyone that has an important aim
Right.
that they want to go after. And
Right.
so as a result, we launched at the same time that Biden came into office. We started this 100 days. We opened it up and said,
You got
hey,
your 100 days going, right?
the
Okay.
public can join, you
Right,
know,
right.
and really people can join at any time. So we've
Right, because
created
it's
it
their
so that
100 days.
so
Right,
that
right.
as soon as you join it, your 100 days starts.
Starts. Right.
Right. And so,
Wow.
and what's happened so far out of the public launch of the program is, and I realized that this is not just a program, it's not just a course inside, even though that's in there. It's not just a community, even though there's a community there, even the structure, though there's a structure there, that this is actually a movement. Is the 100 days with a Z movement. That when someone says I'm doing 100 days with a Z, that everyone knows that they're about to go on a transformative journey, that they're actually, that thing that they said that they were going to do, that they're going to actually do that thing. And so movements have actually started to be created out of that. There are people that took on social media challenges, and they have thousands of people in their movement. So like there's a gratitude movement that got born out of this. There's a up in the chair movement where people are uplifting other people, you know, that got birthed out of the 100 Days Impact Challenge. And really, again, this comes back to what I said when we first started this conversation. You know, everything that I've been involved with, you know, it's all about self and others. See, because when you do something for yourself, it impacts those around you.
It's true. It's true. Right. But I want to ask you a question, because I know that what you're saying is very true as far as sustainability, which is one of the reasons that the gyms, you know, are so packed after New Year's or before summer or something, because people can't sustain it. So you talk about neuroscience. So give us an example of what how does your program touch on the neuroscience of when someone wants to quit, you make them continue?
Oh, okay. Well, but before I answer that question, I want to say something about the gym comment, right? That the gym is packed. So here's the thing about gyms being packed. Every gym business knows that there's just a short period of time where that's the case.
Right. It's true.
And if the gym was continuously packed and people actually did follow through, then the gym business would have to change their model.
Right.
Because their business is based on people not showing up.
Showing up, right. I know, right, exactly.
Right. And so therein lies the you know, the issue.
I know that. I actually heard that, which is basically why I made that comment. Right.
Yeah. But I want to put a spotlight on it, right?
Right.
Because there are things that we do that just don't work. And there are things that we know that do. For example, and this is a response to your neuroscience, for most people, and there are some exceptions, there's always an exception, right? There's always an exception. There's always the gym that has people packed and
all the time, right?
And they figure okay, and they just expanded, and now the gym is like baseball field or whatever, right? So you know, there's right, or they open up another gym, and so that they could handle the load. I mean, there's ways there's workarounds to these issues. So there's always this stuff. So this, you know, I'm pulling the exceptions on the side.
Right. Okay.
But what we know in neuroscience, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but I do a lot of study on neuroscience. I'm like I'm an armchair neuroscientist, but I have friends that are neuroscientists that I check in with on things, right? Just like I have some friends that are, you know, work for NASA. And I have a time philosopher that's a friend of mine. So I'm big on specialized knowledge
Okay.
To this point,
Okay.
I bring these people in as special guests in the 100 Days Impact Challenge
Okay.
to speak on these things.
Okay.
So it's not just Marcus Bell's opinion, right? So I've had someone from NASA. He's in charge of exoplanets, so he looks for life on other planets. He's come into the inner circle of 100 Days Impact Challenge and presented. I've had pop stars in there. I've had Olympians in there as well, like a two now, and I'm probably a couple more are gonna come and do a presentation on high performance and how they use structures to excel, like gold medalists. So it's really for people. The guests that I bring in are top of field, right?
Okay.
They've achieved extraordinary results with their lives on a particular thing. And so it's known that willpower doesn't really work. So you can't will yourself throughout the day to perform at a high level, right? Will over time throughout the day diminishes. And so which is why it's important, if you're doing something that requires a lot of prefrontal cortex, right? There's a lot of cognitive load, that you do that earlier in the day, right? So if you're going to do finances or accounting or read through contracts or whatever, you might want to do that earlier in the day. Then at the end of the day, when you're tired from the activity of the day and your willpower has diminished and your cognitive abilities also has diminished, right? You may not want to do it then, because it's more than likely that you will not catch errors in the contract, or it's going to take you longer. It's going to be right. And so that's one example, right? That's one example of neuroscience. And so if you program your day, and the Olympians talk about this, right? How they program their day so that they could utilize the 24 hours that we all have in the most effective ways to get the most out of them.
Okay. All right. Okay. But if we're going to use diet, for instance, where that person that says, I know I'm not supposed to eat that cake, but, my willpower after a week is gone and now I'm eating that cake again. So that is not something you can program in the, first thing in the morning. So what kind of neuroscience do you have to stop her from eating that cake?
Yeah, so neuroscience is just an access point. So it's not the access point. It's one of many. So there are others like social psychology, right? So there's environment. There are when you look at behavior change, it's not one. There's not a golden bullet. Unfortunately, I wish there was. I wish that, and this is why this is like the brilliance of the design of the 100 Days is it's not just one thing. There are multiple things, right?
Okay. All right.
So when you've taken on a commitment for something, it's like, well, what are the factors? Like, how did the cake get in the house? Right? Let's start there.
I got you.
Right? Because if the cake is not in the house, you can't eat the cake, can you?
Right. Okay.
You don't need to be a neuroscientist to know that. Like, don't buy it. Right?
Don't buy the cake. Right.
And so this points to, the design of grocery stores. So the design of grocery stores is designed in a way to have you buy that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because there's prime.
They put it to the front, right?
There you go. It's prime real estate.
At the checkout,
you pay a lot of money to put the cake in front of you, to put the candy in front of you, to put the thing as you're
checking out. Yep.
As you're checking out, where are the candy bars?
Yes.
And check this out. There's a whole section of candy. So why do you think that there are candy bars near the checkout counter? Right?
Because they know weakness, right? Because when you see it, your mind starts this thing where should I get it? And you usually lose,
Right. So you may have gone past you're looking for whatever you're looking for. You see candy. You're like, oh no, I'm not going down that aisle.
Yeah.
Right. Or you go down the aisle and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to get that.
Right.
Ah, right. But neuroscience tells us,
Right.
social
Yep.
psychology tells us, and psychology tells us
Right.
that you're more likely to just do what you just said. It's like, I'll just get it in it, it's just a bar, right? I'm here to check out kind of anyway.
As soon as you're negotiating, you lose. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so okay, so if you want to push away from the cake, you have to take into consideration all of the things around that thing that you're going after.
Mm.
Right? Not just one thing, but the
Right.
many components that work together for your good or for against your good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah. So I get you. I get you. So your program brings to mind the goal, because you got to keep the goal in front of you, right? And so you wouldn't be challenged or weakened by the little distractions or the things that come up all right,
Yeah, well,
to
I mean,
stop you from
that's
getting your goal, right?
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just one example, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
The way the program is designed really uh, is taking into account people have different things, different aims, right?
Right.
So someone may have a money aim. That's a different pathway. Have
Mm-hmm.
a relationship aim where
Yeah.
hey, I want to find my mate, or I
Right.
want to do something in relationship, or my they may have a spiritual aim. So
Right.
like there are many different
I love
things that
it.
people
I love
put
it.
into the
So
that
it's
they go after.
customized, or yeah, how, so tell us about the program. Is it customized? Because yeah, you were talking about, I like the fact where, the one example that you gave, the person wanted to raise money. So that would be a totally different skill set than someone wanting to lose weight, or,
Yeah.
someone wanting to get wealth, or, maybe someone wanting to find out, what is their unique talent. So
Mhm.
so tell us about the program, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it's
So the
customized.
way,
Right.
yeah, so the way that works is
Mm-hmm.
you as an individual customize it using the tools that we provided,
Ah, okay.
right? And so at some point we may do some, specific like cryptocurrency, 100 days of blockchain technology and investing, or something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
We or a music challenge. I've been flirting with doing a music challenge, where there's like either 100 songs every day and all. So
Okay.
there are going to be other challenges that we kind of have in planning, right? That are more specific, but that are based on either my specialized knowledge or someone else's that like, what, I would love to use this for my organization, right?
Right.
So I've had someone say that, like, hey, I would love to use the 100 days impact challenge structure because it works,
Yeah.
right? Can I bring this into my organization? And so we're looking at things like that, like,
Right.
okay, well, what would that look like for the organization, knowing what we know and having what we have to offer people? And
Mm-hmm.
so like that. But it's a general challenge where people, whoever joins, you customize it yourself. It's kind of like,
Okay.
you what is it, Burger King that says have it your way? Not to
That's a
compare
good
us to Burger
tagline.
King, because
That's a good
it's
tagline,
definitely,
right? Okay.
it's not Burger King. But you can have it your way.
You can have it your way.
More
That
like
is great.
Nobu, you have it your own way.
Nice. Okay. All right. So, excellent conversation. So, as we wrap up, so this sounds like a fantastic challenge. I love the way that the conversation flowed from your special talents to how you help people to find their special talent with this challenge, and go after it in the first 100 days. And then obviously after the first 100 days, then Biden is still doing work, but the 100 days is the motivation to know. I remember there's this one at time, a friend of mine said to me, just do it for 30 days. You can do it for 30 days, but even 30 days was hard because I remember what I was doing. I think it was no meat or something, be a vegetarian for 30 days. And even that's hard. So I understand the 100-day, and you keep it short, and you keep it where you can do a significant amount of work in 100 days. So tell our audience how they can connect with this 100 challenge, where they can connect with you, and anything you want to say on that.
Yeah. Thank you. So if someone's interested in joining the 100 Days Impact Challenge, they will go to 100, 100, like the number, Dayz with a Z, impactchallenge.com. So 100 Days with a Z, impactchallenge.com, and join. And I would recommend that they join the inner circle, because on those inner circle calls every Monday, I get on with the people that are in the challenge, and we have conversations, kind of like some of the conversations we are having in this interview, but more specific around what they're doing in their challenge. And then we have the specialized guests, and then there's a library of those people that have already been guests on, and so it's really, go join the 100 Days Impact Inner Circle, and that's really the opportunity for me to interact with people in a way that's unique.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I want to commend you for using your gifts and talents to help the world, because you were born with the gift. You didn't acquire it because you started at 2. We were born with it. And it's a good thing that when God gives us something, that we share it. So that's pretty good. So I
like to make I know we're wrapping up.
Okay.
So, it's like nurture or nature is what you're talking about.
Right.
And so there are people that come into my programs, right? And they're like, oh, I'm not like Marcus, who started when he was 2 years old and all that. So there are skills that can be acquired.
Yes.
Right. If you know what those skills are that will have you perform at a high level or make the type of impact and difference. So there's some things that are innate inside of us, right? For me, being able to acquire, skill at different instruments, it was my father that noticed that I could focus. And the skill actually is not the piano. The skill was the ability to focus. Right. And so and then I just developed the technical abilities on piano. Right.
Okay.
Right. And so it's deeper than just, I was blessed with a musical ability. No, it doesn't work that way. Things don't work that way. Right. You may have something in there like persistence, tenacity, right? Curiosity, right? That might be the underlying gift that when applied to something specific,
you have to develop it. You have to develop it.
So the work for people is to discover that. And that's what I would like to leave people with.
Yes.
Get to work on not what you do, but who you are, that it is you're able to do what you do.
Yeah. I like that. Well, thank you for saying that, because somebody might be thinking, I don't have any skill, but skills can be developed. There's certain people that I think we're all born with a certain amount of talent, and but anything that you do, they talk about, in order for you to be master, you have to practice 10,000 hours in anything. So you have to develop it, you have to work at it in order to nurture it. So so basically, I was just saying that I thank you, Marcus, for coming on and talking to us and encouraging us that any goal that you have, if you work at it, then you would get rid of the procrastination, get rid of the not feeling like doing it, using neuroscience, environment, social, and all those things that help you just get to those 100 days. And I'm sure we didn't get to talk about it, But, we said that the 100 days, we're using that, analogy as the president's first 100 days, but it's also deeper than that. Like they said, they were used to say that to create a habit, you need 21 days. But when you do something for 100 days, you're building your resilience. You're building the fact that, at 200 days, you're going to feel like doing it because it's going to become part of you. So I love that. So yes, definitely, guys, head over to 100 days challenge, impactchallenge.com. Our regular listeners know that there will be a transcription of my interview with Marcus on the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us. And I will also have a link there to this challenge. So thank you, Marcus. It was a fantastic interview, fantastic, content. And I'm inspired. I'm inspired. You're here to do some good work. So thank you for
Yeah.
making a difference.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the difference that you're making with your audiences.
Well,
They're,
well, thank you.
I get that you have an intention here to really add value to people. And so
Yes.
I'm pleased to be able to be a contribution to that.
Well, thank you. My intention is to almost similar to what you're doing here. Is my intention is to let people know that all they have to do is transform their mind and they can transform their life. So that's exactly what you're doing here with the challenge. You are helping people to transform their mind because the mind is what can either build you up or bring you down. Just like we're talking, how people with the people in the grocery stores know that you're weakest if you see something. You know what I mean? But yeah, so when you see something that is not good for you, you have to be able to have that mindset that says, no, I'm stronger than that. You know what I mean? That is not good for me. That's not the direction I'm going to go in. And once you change that mindset, you will transform your life. So thank you so much for helping us to do that today by transforming our mindset that, yes, that we can be anything we want to be, or any goal by just working at it. All right.
Oh,
So thanks again, Marcus.
yeah. Well, I, that's just a piece of it, but you got to access the other pieces, right? And 100 days impact challenge is a good place to start.
Good place to start. All right. All right. Excellent work. Excellent work. All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. Until next time, blessings.
All right, much love.